Hello, welcome to the Manufacturing Studio. We're here on the Manufacturing Engineering Week show floor. I'm joined by founder of Made Smarter and chair of the Digital Catapult, Juergen Maier. Welcome.
It's great to be here. Hi.
We've just given your keynote address in the theatre back there. Can you give us a little flavour about what the key topics for discussion were this morning?
Well, I really thought about wanting to be a lot more upbeat today, and I've got to say, actually, I'm just looking around us. I mean, there's a real buzz here, isn't there?
Absolutely is.
And
yeah.
I think the last couple of years it felt a little bit more subdued. People were still in the crises. Whereas I feel we're maybe slightly at the end of this perma-crisis moment. And now is a time where actually we can celebrate what manufacturing has achieved to get through this crisis. I mean, just look at what's been thrown at us as a sector, with obviously COVID, with energy prices. And now you can say, look, we are a manufacturing sector that got through that, has got massive more resilience, and has got real grit to take on the next challenges. And I really see it like that. And I see a bit of optimism here.
Yeah, indeed there is. And something you mentioned was about how UK manufacturers have faced up to those challenging times. I think you used the phrase they've passed the resilience test. So what is it about UK manufacturers that makes them so resilient?
Well, I think maybe it's just that we're a bit used to it. I think we have become masters of fighting crises, and look, we need to get out of that mode.
And
ideal. I think it's not ideal. I think we need to get better at longer term thinking and all the rest of it. But we have been good at it, and also, if you compare us to some other countries, namely at the moment the USA, Germany, they do get more support thrown at them. In the UK, we get a bit less support, energy costs or how to adopt new technology, etc. And so therefore, you really have to be super innovative to continue to, to thrive in a globally competitive world. And I think the UK manufacturing sector has learned how to do that.
Yeah. Indeed. And one of the topics that you touched on was obviously sustainability, net zero. How can manufacturers go about addressing the balance of driving forward, growing, thriving, rather than just surviving, whilst at the same time addressing those net zero challenges which have rocketed up the board level priorities now?
Yeah, well, as I said in my little speech, I remember even 10 years ago, net zero, truthfully, wasn't the top board level agenda item, and I do think it has finally moved there. And of course, what helped move it there is the fact that energy costs have risen so high. So the reason why I have confidence is that, we're all seeing 2030 staring in our face, and it really is just down the road. And B, actually, for our survival, we have to get our energy costs down, and to do that in more renewable ways is the only sensible way to do it.
Yeah. Obviously, you mentioned 2030, not far away, as you say, just down the road. Where are we? Are we on track? Could we do more? How do we do more?
Well, on this one, I think I'll have to be a little bit more downbeat. I think you'd be bold to say that we're on track. I think we're going to get closer and closer to 2030 and see the pressure ramping up. And look, everybody's got their bit to play in this. Supply chains, government need to help with the right policies. But look, I think we as manufacturers have now really got to use the next few years. There's lots of technology out there that we can implement, and I think this is the time. There's no complacency here.
Absolutely,
we've just got to make it happen.
Yeah, indeed. And around industrial strategy, I've heard in discussion with manufacturers and sort of industry leaders that UK manufacturers are great at R&D and innovation, but perhaps not so much at commercialisation and scale. Is that fair?
Well, I mean, that's always been the Achilles heel of sort of the UK innovation ecosystem. The reason why we don't scale quite as much and quite as fast as often a Germany or a USA. In fields like automotive or silicon chip manufacturing, etc., is because we don't have the mechanisms in the UK to really help scale those startups. Now look, we have created the Catapult, so I'm chair of the digital Catapult. We have a high value manufacturing Catapult, and those organisations do massively help, but we need to scale them even more and get more people involved, make it more affordable for people to be involved in, for example, how do I adopt digital twin into my smaller manufacturing operation.
Yeah, indeed. And you spoke about the adoption of digital technology, and perhaps I think the analogy you gave in years gone by, and a manufacturer would be, look, I'm just trying to get my widgets off the production line. And what are you seeing around the appetite for digital technology adoption, perhaps not just with the bigger manufacturers, but with the large number of SMEs that make up the UK manufacturing?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, just have a look around this show, and just walking around here, it is actually fascinating. I'm just looking at one here, titled Digital Transformation. There's Digital Made Smarter over there. The amount of businesses we now have here talking about digital technologies compared to just 2 or 3 years ago is absolutely huge. So, look, and I think every manufacturer now knows this. So again, it's like net zero. These are the two things, and they two work together because digital technologies also help net zero, of course.
Of course, yes.
So, look, I think you've just got to take the mechanisms that are available here, and like I say, I'm just looking at two: Catapult's helping you, Made Smarter helping you, and embrace them and get on that race if you're not already are of adopting digital technologies.
Yeah, sure. And another topic that is a constantly gets thrown up whenever we speak to manufacturers, whenever we come to shows, is of course skills. What's your view of the current landscape with in terms of manufacturing skills and where we need to be and where we're going?
Well, again, you could look at this in two ways, and we could sort of say, look, what's government doing and providing, and we say that hasn't gone well enough. But actually, the way I addressed it in today's speech was we really have to rethink this for our own organisations. The half-life of skills is now so short. When I did my engineering degree, I think I was still living off some of that knowledge 10 years later.
Yeah.
Now you're living off that for 6 months. So, you're constantly having to retrain, upgrade, and I think this just has to become a proper line on the investment balance sheet, if you like, of our organisations, to say we are going to continuously invest, upskill our people so that we can absolutely stay ahead of these digital transformations.
Yeah. It's interesting you say about the pace of it. I was listening to someone from a large American software company, shall we say, about generative AI a while ago, and he said, we can't keep up, and we're generating it, and we're developing it. And
actually, AI, of course, is part of the answer to that training too. Tools like ChatGPT. I mean, you can gain a huge amount of knowledge from them as well. Yeah.
Indeed. Another point around industrial strategy, and something I picked up in your keynote, is you said that manufacturing actually needs to rely less on government, which I think is fair to say, but that's not ideal, is it?
Well, look, I mean, we've had the last good decade, fighting, many of us, including me, but many of the industrial leaders in the UK, we've been fighting for a proper industrial strategy, and we've got bits and pieces, but we haven't got one for now. So my view is look, nothing is going to change before the next general election. So there's an awful lot we are doing. I mean, everything we've done to stay resilient, to get through these periods of permacrisis we've been through. And I think we've just got to do more of that. And in the areas where we need policy help, we've just got to be more confident and very clear about what our ask is. One of the examples I gave in my keynote is, skills is so important. I think we need to be looking at some sort of an investment allowance for investing in skills, the same way as we have capital allowances for capital equipment. And if that's what we believe as a sector is going to really help us forward, then let's get together, and let's make a really strong case, and let's just, let's get these helpful policies, but maybe not quite so much rely on a grand industrial strategy. I'm hopeful we might return to that, but it's not going to be in the next few months.
Indeed, yes. And just finally, Juergen, sort of bringing all those elements together, digital technologies, net zero, skills, industrial strategy. If you had a UK manufacturing wish list, what would be top of that agenda?
Well, I think the word I would use is collaboration. What we do very well is we do lots of things in islands and pockets, and honestly we have some of the best examples of, whether it's in robotics or 3D printing or digital twinning. We have some of the best examples, but because they're in islands we don't scale them enough, so not everybody knows about it, not everybody engages with it, and also we don't quite then appear on the world stage with these things because they're good but they're small. So I think more collaboration and more scale and more impact.
Indeed. Fantastic. Juergen, thanks for taking the time to speak to the manufacturer, and of course enjoy the rest of the show.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.